Welcome back. Well, I'd like to welcome Under Sheriff Bob Peterson here with us from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Well, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you for the invitation.
You're welcome. And you've got a lot of things to cover. 2019 accomplishments as well as 2020 goals. And the sheriff couldn't be here today, so thank you so much for filling in. I appreciate it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first, the sheriff says he sends his apologies for not being able to make it. He's a little under the weather, like so many are right now. I've been with the Sheriff's Department 30 years. I started straight out of high school. As I tell people, my first job was washing inmates' clothing in the basement of the Central Men's Jail at 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
22 years later, I came back to command that same facility I worked at. I've had a very bright career. I've been very fortunate at the Sheriff's Department. Back then, 2 investigators found me in a warehouse as I was homeless and provided me an opportunity that has changed my life forever. So
that's amazing.
Been very, very fortunate.
Well, and I know that homelessness is one of the things that you guys are paying very close attention to, which we'll talk about in just a bit.
Sure.
So let's talk about some of the reform things that have happened in the jail, that's been going on.
Yeah, the sheriff has really focused on the jail, certainly in 2019. We recently opened up what we call our Humvee unit, which is a housing unit for our military veterans, to bring them in an environment around other inmates that have military experience, along with our deputies that have some experience, so that we can help them reprogram and get back into society.
Okay.
We also have opened up a behavioral mental health module. This is to provide services in the jail for our mentally ill inmates. Right now we're running around 30% of our inmate population has some mental health illness.
Oh, wow.
And it's a big issue, and if we can address those things inside the jail, then when we let them out into the streets, they may be able to program better and have a more productive life.
And this has been something I think that has been called for quite some time, because we do see that mental illness it's on the rise. And if you're able to address it at that base, I think that's awesome. And are you bringing in hospitals or doctors from around the area to help with that?
We're bringing in multiple organizations to help us, both internally and externally. We work very closely with the Orange County Healthcare Agency, and they bring in their specialists to help us out, right? Plus, we have non-government organizations, NGOs, that are helping with the transition when they get released, like a working wardrobe. Let's say they get out, they need some good clothes, a suit to do a job interview so that they can secure that job, and other veteran organizations.
Okay.
Along with that, last year the sheriff had implemented, we used to release inmates in the middle of the night. And we recognize that there are no services for those inmates. There's the transportation issues, the outreach issues that are available. So we stopped doing that. Now we release inmates at 8 o'clock in the morning at business hours so that they can receive the services that they need.
Smart. Great. Thank you for doing that. I think that's a good idea.
It's been very productive.
So enhanced school safety, that sounds good. What's that entail?
So we have a multi-layer approach on that. We recently formed what we call the OC STAT team, right? It's School Threat Assessment Team. That's designed for students that maybe move from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, or district to district, I guess is more appropriate. This assessment team's able to communicate and collaborate with our school system and our public safety partners to make sure that we're all on the same page to protect our schools. We also have our school mobile assessment team, resource team, which is SMART as we call it. They work closely with the schools and addresses any threats that might come up to make sure our kids are safe. In conjunction, we have the Orange County Intelligent Assessment Center, which is our OCIAC. That's the super secret people that handle investigations, work closely with the federal government to make sure that our communities and our schools are safe.
I'm awaiting them to come on the show. Fingers crossed.
It'll be very exciting.
I'm hoping so. All right, and then also the homelessness. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, homelessness, as you know, is a big issue, not just in Orange County, but in California, across the country. The sheriff is 100% committed in trying to help resolve some of these issues. Unfortunately, a lot of people think it's an issue of crime, and for us it's not. One, we have to have the tools to help deal with it. We have to always abide by the law. Part of that, we created what we call our homeless outreach team, or our HOT team.
Okay.
This team of deputies across the county are out trying to provide the services and help the homeless in the ways that we can legally. If there are issues that require legal action, then we will certainly take those actions. But it's a collaborative effort amongst the community and law enforcement to try and address these issues.
When some of your deputies are approaching the homelessness folks, are they frightened, or are they receiving it well?
Well, certainly with our HOT team, they're not frightened because we're using some of the most advanced computer systems and information systems that are available, and they know those deputies are coming out there to provide them with resources to help get them off the street, you know, and get them into housing, get them the things and services that they need. So they're not frightened.
Good.
It's a relationship, and that's what we're trying to build.
Excellent. And there are going to be more and more resources for them coming up here in the next few years, I think. So that's
Absolutely.
excellent. Okay, so let's look at 2020. What are you guys projecting are some of the highlights of what you want to focus on?
Well, we certainly want to focus on crime, keeping our crime rates down. The sheriff supports any legislation that's going to increase enhancements, certainly with the property crime issues that I think we've all been experiencing. Make sure you read your ballots. Make sure you carefully read all your ballots before you vote, right?
Exactly.
We are going to try and reduce property crime, focus on that. We're certainly keeping an eye on school safety. We have a lot of things there that we want to make sure our schools are safe.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then drug education for youth and their parents. I mean, it's not just, it's opioids, it's all other kinds of drugs, and I know that the sheriff has focused very heavily on fentanyl, which we know is awful. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the education component, we take it in a kind of a three-tier approach. We want to make sure our legislative folks, our politicians are educated. Certainly when they're passing laws, we want to teach the schools, our teachers, and our local governmental officials, and we want to make sure we're teaching students and parents about the dangers of drug use.
Right.
This is a tough topic in this state, as you know. The fentanyl epidemic is really a challenge for us because last year alone we seized 168 pounds of fentanyl. And in 2015 we seized none. And just in perspective, if you look at the eye of Lincoln on a penny, if you fill that eye area, that's enough to overdose on. And 33 pounds of fentanyl could kill the entire population of Orange County. It's just extremely dangerous. So we're really focusing on getting into the schools, getting into the community, trying to educate them on the dangers of the drugs that are out there today.
That's a smart move because you want to start young, you know, let them know because it's getting younger and younger, so excellent.
Yes.
Okay, lastly, strong community relationships. I know you guys are out and about all the time with lots of different events that are going on, and you have various partners. Tell me about some of the things that you're going to be working on with those partners.
Well, we work with the Special Olympics. I'll run down some of the things. Sure. Special Olympics, we have an interfaith advisory council. We're working closely with the Core Church in trying to create an interactive collaboration meeting to bring our communities together, especially with our diverse communities. Coffee with a Cop. We recently, last year, this is something that's really good for your viewers, we have a Take Me Home program that all the cities in the sheriff jurisdiction has opened up. This program allows you to go on to the web, sign up for young or old, those members or your loved ones that sometimes might get lost, right? If you register with the Take Me Home program and you get lost or a loved one gets lost and one of our deputies finds you, you're in our system. We'll be able to get you home safely.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a great program to sign up for those that sometimes need our help. So we know who you are and we can get you home safely.
Excellent, excellent. Now, let's look at just a couple other things before we have to close off. National Night Out. What is that?
National Night Out, that's something that literally is a national program. It's when law enforcement comes out with the community. We engage with them as again, partners, right? Our young men and women in uniform, we're your average citizens. We're your moms, dads, your brothers, sisters, cousins, nephews, and nieces. It allows us to go out there, work with the community, talk about the topics that we're facing, and just let them know, hey, we're part of you. We're a family.
Well, it's good to be accessible because then I think you might be able to educate a little bit more. So fantastic. Thank you so much for being with us. I appreciate it.
Sure. No, thank you for the
And
invitation.
give the sheriff best wishes here.
We'll give him some vitamin C. And get him
Vitamin
better.
C. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
And remember, if you would like to know more information about what we just discussed here, you can always go to ocsd.org. We'll be right back.